Alright, what's up everybody? I am here at Texas in the Cup Series, or in a Cup car, and I'm in test session, so there's nobody else around. We'll see if I can lay down a decent lap here, then talk to you about the line I am running to get around Texas, give you a couple of tips that I have picked up, and then obviously show the setup and talk about it. I have ran a 29.2 with this setup. I have not yet been able to get into the 29.1s with this. My all-time best is a 29.1, but I didn't do it with this setup. The setup that I got the 29.1 with got pretty loose on the long run, so I would not recommend it here. This is an updated Texas video, which I should have said. I had one where I ran a 29.4, and I have knocked a couple of tenths off of that, so I thought it was time to put out a new video. I was cranking out 29.2s pretty consistently earlier. Let's see what I can do here. Hopefully I can get a 29.2 on video for you guys. There was a 29.256. I'll run one more lap just to see if I do any better. But that's pretty much what I was hoping. I keep thinking I'm going to nail everything just perfect one lap and run a 29.1, but it hasn't happened yet. I've already got a 29.2. If we can't do any better than that, we'll roll with that, and I will start talking about the line I am running here once I cross the start finish.
That was a better lap.
Boy, that was close. That was 29.206. Okay, so let's talk about Texas and how you get around this place. Texas is a very difficult track, I think, to get your hands around, because it seems like you want to get really tight coming off turn 2, and then you get really loose coming off 4, so it's hard to build a setup when you got different problems at different ends of the track. But I think we got something that you can work with here. This O'Reilly sign, this to me is the start of turn 1. We're way back here, but you're going to come off of the wall here, and then as you get up here, probably about this NASCAR Cup Series sign, you're going to lift, and you lift barely. I mean, you lift to where you're maybe, I don't know, half throttle or so, and then get right back in it. Now the car, and just the nature of the way the game is with Texas, it seems like you want to get tight off of 2, so you got to get the car turned early. So when you are letting off that gas and you are coming here through the middle of turn 2, you got to get the car rotated and turned so that you're not really struggling when you're coming off of 2. And when I say get the car turned, I mean you're going to turn the wheel pretty hard, you're going to get down to the bottom of the track, and then probably in the middle of the corner, you're going to turn the wheel even further, even though you're kind of already at the bottom, because it's going to want to push up the track. And if you don't kind of turn the wheel a little bit before you feel the car pushing, it's going to be too late and you're going to be sliding up the track. So I hope that I'm articulating that well. Then as you're coming off of 2, if you've done everything right, as you're coming off of turn 2, you're going to be straightening the wheel up. If you have missed your mark, you're going to be coming off of 2, and as you're coming off of 2, you're going to be turning the wheel harder and harder left because you've kind of missed your mark and the car started pushing up the track before you got the wheel turned. As I come off of 2, I like to let the car drift a little bit, partially because the cars are always tight coming off of 2, and partially because letting it drift up here above the suggested line a little bit, feel like you keep up better momentum and you don't scrub off as much speed. But that is 2. That is the turn where you're always tight coming off of it, and I try to deal with that by getting the car rotated well in the middle and turning the wheel early so that I can straighten it up kind of as we go, as we exit. This O'Reilly sign down here, this is kind of to me the start of 3. When I want to go in here, I'm out here at the O'Reilly sign, but I want to start arcing it down here. If I hit everything right, I will not lift, or I will lift just maybe to where I'm like 90% throttle in the middle. But I mean, if I lift, it is, I don't even think you can hear the engine RPMs drop in the video. If I did lift, it is that subtle. But you start that wide arc. To be able to make this and to be able to make it without lifting, you got to start out really wide. You got to start that arc early by turning at the O'Reilly sign, and then you're going to ride the bottom basically all the way around the corner. Now, the number one trouble spot at Texas is coming off of turn 4, okay? Coming off turn 4, you really want to get loose, especially as the tires wear. Here is the trick to coming off of 4. Right up in here, right where it is dark colored pavement, right where it looks like it is the groove and it looks like this is where you want to run, do not run here. This is the spot where you get loose. Right where it is dark pavement, it looks like that's the groove. If you run here, this is your best chance of getting loose. Now, you can do about anything on fresh tires, but as the tires wear, this is your problem spot. You are going to want to either run turn 4 to where you are right down here hugging that white line, or you're going to be up here kind of to where you're maybe halfway in that groove and halfway out of it. But if you get right there where that dark pavement is, that's where you get loose. That is my number one tip for getting around Texas, is avoid the spot that looks like it is the groove and looks like where there's the most rubber laid down. But once you get out of 4, I let the car drift out, and again, I love these O'Reilly's markers. They are perfect for where I want to do things on the track. This is where I am widest. This is where I get closest to the wall. This is where I let it drift out the most, and then from here I am angling it back down and trying to get back down here and kind of run right here by the grass coming across the start-finish line. That is Texas. That is my Texas lap. Let's go to the garage. Like I've seen, you saw me run here a 29.206. Man, I want to get in the 29 once, but I just can't seem to get it. So let's go talk about the setup. Texas is kind of a difficult place to get your hands around because, like I said, you're tight off 4, or tight off 2, but you're loose off of 4. But let's look at the setup. I don't think there's anything real crazy in the bump and rebound settings that I've got there. This is typical for where I like to run things. Front weight and wedge are pretty close to each other and about in the 51.5 range. This is 3 out of 4 shocks are pretty typical for my setups. The front springs are almost always 1200. The right rear is almost always 600. That left spring, a lot of places I run it about 500. I am running it at 580 here. Increasing that left spring helps correct a loose off condition. It helps correct a loose condition, but it seems like it helps more on corner exit than entry. So yeah, I am running a stiffer left rear spring to try to compensate for that thing getting loose coming off the corners. The tire pressures I think are pretty close to the default. I think I went up on the right rear and that's about it. I went up a lot on the left front camber because I felt like I wasn't getting a lot of tire wear there, but I didn't change the right front very much. I think like this was 2.5 on the left front and it went all the way up to 4. I think this was like 2.4 and I only went to 2.8. The track bars are pretty close to each other. I don't typically run the track bars that close to each other, but it seems like I was having trouble getting into the corner, so I was going up on the left track bar to help get the car turned in, but I didn't want the car to get loose on exit, especially on 4, so I didn't go up very much on the right track bar, so I kept them pretty close together. The grill tape is pretty aggressive for a cup car, but it doesn't even come close to overheating. I think I barely hit 250 degrees. Wheel lock. I am running a 7 of wheel lock because the turns are so wide at Texas you don't need a lot of wheel lock. If you're on a controller, I've been told that the controller setups run better if you run a wheel lock of somewhere in the 10 to 12 range. So if you're on a controller and it feels like this setup isn't working for you, maybe adjust that wheel lock to 10 to 12. Other than that, it is a 3-gear setup. That gearing of 1.10 and 2.91 comes out to, I think, a 3.201, so basically a 3.20 gear. And again, it's a 3-gear setup. You can use 4th gear if you need to save fuel. But the gearing, I want to talk about the gearing for a minute. I settled on this because this is what seemed comfortable. I had gearing all the way from, I think, a 3.174 all the way up to like a 3.28, and I was basically running the same lap times. So play around with the gearing to see, what you're comfortable with and what you like. But I had a pretty broad range there and still was coming up with the same lap time. So this is my updated Texas setup, 29.2. It really, I think, shines on the long run. The long run, I think I was still running about 30.1s or low 30.2s at the end of a fuel run. And the thing is, at the end of the fuel run, it's still pretty easy to drive. It doesn't get real loose on you. Now, I will tell you, as the tires wear, if you're not hitting your marks and you're coming off of the corner and you're really cranking the wheel to the left, it's going to get loose on you. If you hit your marks, you should be coming off of a corner and you should be straightening the wheel up as you're exiting the corner, not turning it more. If you hit your marks, you shouldn't have any problems. It's if you are trying to you've overshot the corner and you're trying to turn the wheel exceptionally hard left when you exit, that's when it's going to get really loose on you. So I have really talked a bunch here, but I hope you guys like this setup. I think it's a little better than what I originally put out. Try it out. Give me your feedback. Tell me what you think. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you for everything you're doing for me and the great feedback I'm getting. You guys keep supporting me and giving me the great feedback. I'll keep putting out videos as well as I can. I'll end this like I always do. Thank you guys so much. I hope this turns some fast laps for you and hope you have a great day.